Okay, my loves, today is all about focus. I can't tell you how many times I hear from people that distraction is getting in the way of them building the kind of creative career that they want or having the relationships that they desire that are going to mean so much to them. So we've got two really awesome exercises that are going to help you tap in to the superpower of focus. Okay, so this exercise has got two main parts with some little subcategories within the main part. So we're going to be doing a few writing prompts. I'm going to be working right alongside you, and I absolutely guarantee that by the end of it, you're going to have some insight into all of the areas that you're getting distracted by and what you need to start to prioritize, really, in order to have the life and career that you dream of. And to be honest, it's focus for me that is like the main area that when we create a shift there, things really start to transform in our lives and our careers. So the first thing that we want to do is start with a brainstorm. And this brainstorm is literally all of the things that you're thinking about. And we want to take at least a minute for this one. But if you find that after a minute, when I stop you, you're still getting stuff on the page, then I really recommend that you pause the video and get everything down onto the page. So however little or small, if you've been thinking about it, get it down on the page. So I would say you want to be going back around about a week, because I would say the majority of what we think about within a week tends to be the majority of what we're thinking about within the month or within the year. It's usually the same thoughts just coming back over and over and over. So everything that you can remember that you've been thinking about for the last week, just get it on the page. Even as random as that is, you might be like, well, the other day I was trying to think about what to wear, or I was trying to think about what to cook. Everything gets down on the page. If you think about it, pop it down on the page. So literally a total brainstorm. We'll go for a minute and see what happens. Off you go. Okay, so see where you are. If you need a little bit more time, take a bit more time, or if you're like, no, I feel like I've got a lot of the stuff that I've been thinking about recently down on the page, we can go on to the next step. So the next step is to first of all just be aware of that list and to understand that it's going to be a lot larger, because there are many things that we're getting distracted about or that we're thinking about that we're just not aware of. So sometimes I find it really useful to say to myself, this list is probably 4 times as long. And it probably would be longer anyway if we gave ourselves more time. Like, I know that I've been thinking about more things that I've written down here, but these are some of the most repetitive ones that I've put down. So I find that it's like a really beautiful exercise in truth to really see in the fullness of the light of day, literally how much you're occupying your mind with. So no wonder it does seem a little distracting. If you're anything like me and you're a creative soul and you have got creative projects on the go, you might have a sense of the challenge it can feel like when you're trying to work on a creative project, but your mind is thinking about 10 other things. So what we want to do is to like, oh, I get it. I get why it's been challenging recently. Like, look at all the things I have been thinking about. So what we want to do now is to go down the list and put a number by the list in terms of how many times you think about this. Now again, it's not going to be an exact number, but here we're still in that exercise of what I might call, brutal honesty, where you're admitting, okay, probably 20 times yesterday I was worrying about my hair, or probably 30 times already this morning I've been dwelling on a conversation that I had with a family member. So what you want to do is, again, think about, and I would do this on a daily basis, go down the list, and for everything that you've got on your list, be like, okay, how many times do I think about this a day? Is it 5 times a day? Is it 10 times a day? Is it 20 times a day? Is it 50 times a day? That's the next part of the exercise. So let's take a minute and go through and pop those numbers down by the side. Okay. I find it useful to add all of this up. So let's just take a moment to add it up. So my amount comes to 140. So again, it's starting to put it into perspective. And again, I know it's going to be way more than this, because we can have way more than 140 thoughts a day. We can be having so many more thoughts than we're aware of. So I know that currently I'm definitely aware of 140 things, not all of them different. I've got about 12 different categories here. So there's an average. Some of them I put down that I was thinking around about 5 times. Some of them I've put down that I was thinking around 20 times. And the other thing is that can be really useful with this exercise on focus is, so say for example, I've got one down here, which is the gym. And I think about the gym as a broad category. Maybe I'm thinking about that 10 times a day. But here's the thing, when we start to get really honest, we might be like, wow, 9 of those 10 times a day might be me giving myself a hard time because I should get to the gym. So I may only be thinking about the gym once in a way that's beneficial and 9 times in a way that's not beneficial. So we're not going to do that today as part of the exercise, but this is something that I will take my clients through, which is to start to be alive to not just the amount of times they're thinking about something, but whether they're thinking about it in a beneficial way or not. So the other thing I've got down here is my health, and I've got 15 times a day for that. Now, most of that is in a beneficial way, because for me, I've really come to a place in my life where I see myself, I see the food that I eat, the way that I live, I see that as being of benefit. Now, the reason that is where it is today is because it didn't used to be of benefit. So I've become really alive to the way that I do think about my health. So that is an area that I know I'm thinking more good thoughts around than bad thoughts, but it certainly didn't used to be the case. So we've got a sense of all of the different things that we're thinking about, the amount of times that we're thinking about them, and also, are we thinking about health 15 times a day in a beneficial way, or 15 times a day in a really negative, undermining way? So I find it really useful to look at the highest numbers. So take a moment and just underline the ones that have got the highest numbers to them. Okay, so I've underlined 3 which were significantly higher than the rest. The majority of what I've got here, I've got the numbers 5 alongside. So I'm thinking about them, but not loads. So for me, there were 3 that really stood out. I'm thinking about them a lot more than the others. So you want to look at what the highest ones are, and also the highest one. It might be that there's one that's significantly higher, or just the highest one of all of them. So now it's to understand that every time you think about something, every time you allow yourself to think about something, the signal that you are sending to your brain is, this is a priority because I'm allowing myself to think about it. So if you've got something here that's a high number, but you're thinking about it in a way that's not beneficial, what you're saying to yourself is, then this non-beneficial way of thinking about something is a priority. Okay? So for me, my highest number here is my business. I think about my business. I've put down here 30 times a day. Now, I know that the majority of ways that I'm thinking about my business is in a beneficial way. But I also know that's not the case always, and it's not the case with many of the clients that I work with. They might be spending 20 thoughts a day worrying about their business. So what that means is they're saying to themselves that worrying about their business is a priority, i.e. that needs to take place before anything else takes place. And then we start to understand why we don't feel really great about our dreams, or why we just feel that things are going to be impossible, because we're prioritizing thoughts that are worrying about the thing that we want to be making advances in. So we're really starting to get the truth here. We're really starting to see what we're encouraging in our mind. And my friends, that's what distraction is. It's what we're encouraging ourselves to think about, or what we're revealing. Not so much what we're revealing, actually, what we're practicing prioritizing, if you like. We're practicing prioritizing negative thoughts about our health, or we're practicing prioritizing worries about our business. So what we want to do is to start to be like, hang on a second, what is my dream? What am I working towards? What do I want to be focusing on? And does it match what I am currently prioritizing? So what you want to do now is to just really get clear about what your dream is. So what do you want to be prioritizing at the moment? What do you want to be focusing on? So let's just take a moment to write that down. What do you want to be prioritizing at the moment? What do you want to be focusing on? Now, it's really, really useful to have like a number 1, and then a number 2, and then a number 3. So you've kind of got it in order. For some people, it can be really difficult to be like, oh, I can't just think of one thing, but you want to get a sense of the most important, because otherwise what tends to happen is we get distracted between the 3, because we're like, damn it, which one of these 3 should I be prioritizing? So what's the most important? What's the second? And what's the third? So let's just take a moment to write down what those 3 are. Okay. So this is the second part of the exercise now. You see, we've kind of got like lots of mini exercises within the large one. So the first part of the exercise was really to take an inventory, if you like, of all of the things that you're being distracted on. The second part is now where we start to create that focus. So we've got the 3 areas that we want to be prioritizing. So what you want to do now is you want to look at all of the areas that you listed above that you are thinking about that don't serve the 3 areas that you want to prioritize. So for example, I've chosen to prioritize my coaching business. So the work that I do coaching writers and entrepreneurs to make art, make a living. So I've got my business as one. I've got my work in progress. So I'm currently working on a proposal for my memoir. So that's my second priority. And my third priority is my health at the moment. So for me, that's like an umbrella over the relationships that I have with people, to me that comes under health, and the relationship that I have with myself. So that to me is what I understand as health. May not be the same for you. So those are the 3 areas that I want to prioritize. So now that means I'm looking at my list and I'm like, okay, well, what things am I thinking about here that don't match any of those? So currently right now, one of the things I'm thinking about is a renovation project in the house where I live. So I'm like, right now, I don't need to be thinking about that because that's not a priority right now. I've got other areas here where I've got a relationship that I have with someone. So I've written their name down here, but I know that currently right now I'm not thinking about that in a beneficial way. So I need to make a note here to be like, okay, it makes sense for me to be thinking about this person because I'm in relationship with them. But I want to make sure that I'm thinking about them in a way that serves my priority for health, which is to have beneficial relationships that serve me. So that means when I find myself thinking about this person, I want to make sure that I'm thinking about that in a healthy way, in a way that feels good. So do you see what we're doing? We're checking through all of our thoughts and we're being like, what doesn't belong here? What doesn't match my priorities? Or what does match my priorities, but am I thinking about it in a way that matches my priorities? So again, let's just take a moment to go through the list and really check through. So you want to look, what thoughts are supporting your dreams? What thoughts aren't supporting your dreams? And do you need to be thinking about things in a different way? So let's take a minute to go through and check that. Okay, so let's check in with how we are with this exercise. What we're slowly doing is we are focusing on our priorities, those 3 things that you wrote down, and making sure that all of the things that are going on in our mind are serving those priorities. And so the final part of the exercise, as I touched on earlier, is to make sure that we are thinking about things in a beneficial way, the way that we want them to. Otherwise, they become a huge distraction and they really get in the way of us being able to focus on our priorities. So it might be that you're noticing that there are some thoughts that you need to practice not engaging with, and I'm going to say a little bit more about how you can do that. You may even see there are some thoughts that you're like, yeah, it makes sense for me to be thinking about my business because that's a priority. But what I want to be aware of is that I'm thinking about my business in a way that really supports that health and really supports the vision that I have for my business. So I'm not spending time worrying about my business, but I'm really focusing on thinking about my business in a beneficial way. So thinking about what needs to be done, thinking about the results that I want to create in my business, thinking about when I'm going to be working and when I'm going to be taking time off, rather than just allowing my thoughts to be thinking about my business in a way that just doesn't help at all. So in terms of this idea of not engaging with the thoughts, as a final point, I want to say that it doesn't help to tell ourselves not to think about something because we're thinking about it, right? If I say to myself, don't think about your business, in that very moment, I'm thinking about my business. And it's very, very difficult to not think about something. Like, when do we have it where our mind is just completely empty for 10 minutes straight? It doesn't happen. And so what we find is that if our mind is thinking, we want to make sure that it's thinking in a way that we want it to be thinking. It's thinking in a way that brings a really good experience to us. So when we have a thought that comes in, so for example, the point that I made about I could be thinking about going to the gym, but I could be thinking about 9 times about going to the gym, like, oh mate, you really should go to the gym, you're being so freaking lazy. And only 1 time, oh, I'm going to go to the gym now. So if I notice I'm having a thought that isn't beneficial, isn't motivating, it's to be like, okay, let's just pause. How can I think about this in a way that's going to help me focus? How can I think about this in a way that's going to be motivating? So I might catch myself giving myself a hard time about not going to the gym, and then I might be like, let's pause, let's look at the calendar, and let's put in a date and a time for when I'm next going to go to the gym. So from now on, whenever I catch myself giving myself a hard time, I can say, but actually, I'm going on Tuesday at 4 p.m. And so by not engaging, what I'm actually doing is replacing one thought with another thought. I'm not engaging with giving myself a hard time. I'm replacing that thought with, actually, this is when I'm going to go to the gym, and this is the time I'm going to go to the gym. So take a moment now just to go through what you've written and to make a few notes to be like, if I catch myself thinking of this, it's not going to serve my priorities. How can I think about it in a way that is going to serve my priorities? So I would suggest just choosing one, and we'll go for 1 more minute and seeing if you're able to flip that. Just notice what comes up. Off you go. Okay, my friends, that is time up for that part of the exercise. So just start to notice, where have you got to as we've been working through this together? I'd really love for you to share any insights that you got from this in the comments below. It might be that you have some more questions about some of the things that I said, or it may be that as you were journaling, you were like, oh my God, I'm literally saying this in a completely different way. I love it when people share stuff like that with me. And also just notice how beneficial you have found this time to literally just take a few minutes and to work through something in what I might refer to as a curated way. Like I've guided you, I've guided your thoughts, I've guided the processing that we've been doing. And if you have found this beneficial and this work has really just created some space or some fresh clean thinking in your mind, and you want to go deeper into this work, you might want to come and check out my Write No Matter What community. There's a free version where you're going to have access to live videos, where you're going to have access to really transformative content, or if you want to go even deeper, there's a paid version as well. So you've got 2 different choices when it comes to the community. And of course, there are plenty more channels, plenty more videos on this channel with similar writing exercises where we do this work real time that you may find super beneficial. So whatever your jam, whether it's coming and joining me in the community or just continuing to watch my videos, I wish you the best of luck with that. Look forward to reading your comments and look forward to seeing you in the next video. Take care.